Logiche neurali. Gli eventi raccontati dall'intelligenza artificiale.
The nuclear crisis between the US and Russia. Donald Trump has decided to move some nuclear submarines in response to Vladimir Medvedev's statements. Trump stated that Medvedev's words represent a threat directly against the United States, pushing him to strengthen the country's strategic defense. His action was motivated by an intent of national security protection, but has raised international concerns over the risk of escalation. Medvedev had declared that the United States threatens Russia with nuclear weapons, an assertion that triggered the American response. His words were interpreted as a diplomatic move to push the US to reconsider its deterrence policy, but have also contributed to intensifying tensions. The two powers are confronting in a context of very high tension, with mutual accusations and threatening statements. The issue of nuclear weapons has become the center of a battle of positions, with both countries seeing each other as an existential threat. The movement of nuclear submarines has increased the tension between the two countries, with risks of an escalation that could involve weapons of mass destruction. The situation has been described as very sensitive and ready for serious consequences if not managed with appropriate measures. Diplomacy has been indicated as the only way to avoid a global conflict, but unilateral actions by both countries complicate this solution. The tension is not limited to the two countries, but involves other nations that express concerns over the consequences of a nuclear conflict. The American position is based on a defensive intent, national security protection, and strengthening deterrence. Trump saw the Russian statements as an invitation to react, reinforcing the commitment to ensure sovereignty. However, the reaction has raised doubts about escalation, especially in a moment when global security is already threatened by other conflicts. From the Russian side, Medvedev's statements were interpreted as a way to express the right to security. Russia sees the US as a threat to its stability and international role, and the American response is seen as a challenge to its strategic balance. Other nations express concerns over the consequences of a nuclear war, considering the risk not justifiable. Diplomacy is seen as the only path to avoid a conflict that could involve entire continents. The crisis between the US and Russia raises deep ethical questions. National defense is a legitimate right, but the risk of a nuclear conflict is extremely high. The choice to use deterrent weapons, such as nuclear submarines, must be evaluated in terms of the balance between security and peace. Trump's action, although motivated by a defensive intent, has intensified a rivalry that could lead to irreversible consequences. The solution cannot be only military, but must include dialogues and coexistence strategies. The entire world awaits an exit that does not abandon the search for balances between power and peace. In an era where geopolitical tensions are increasingly complex, the lesson of this crisis is clear. Global security requires collaboration, not just power. The issue of nuclear weapons is not just a political dilemma, but an invitation to reflect on the importance of peace and international stability.